hurt some people's feelings. So if you a little sensitive, you might as well turn this joint off right now. Okay? How you afraid to drop a dime when you already dropped?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Real Talk with Rebel. So we have been talking about doing a podcast for, I don't even know how long at this point.
Probably like 2 years at this point.
At least, consistently. And here we are. We're so excited. We have lots to talk about. But first and foremost, we want to get into just a little bit of the background of Rebel, the lore, if you will. We're going to take you guys back and walk you through how we became Rebel Fitness, who we are, why we exist, all of those things. And being that it's the first podcast, we want you guys to bear with us. This will be one of those things that, you know, when Shamar's a billionaire doing podcasts and telling everybody down the road about his very first podcast, they'll have to dig this one up somewhere and they'll have to look at it. So
let me try to do a good job then.
We're going to try to do our absolute best right now. No judgment, okay? But here we go. So Rebel Fitness has been like officially in existence for about 2 years now.
Who's the owner of Rebel Fitness?
Oh my God, here we go. I am the owner of Rebel Fitness. I am Carissa. Thank you, Shamar.
Oh, yeah.
This is why 100% he's here, you guys. I have to be the host right now, but we're going to see how this goes. So I am Carissa. I am the owner of Rebel Fitness. I was the previous owner of the gym. In 2018, I took over a gym that was a part of a franchise. And during that process, this is kind of what we're going to talk about. I realized very quickly that it was not something that I wanted to be a part of. I was not vibing with it in any way, shape, or form. I had a lot of sleepless nights about what I was selling to people, how we were told to run the gym. And then COVID hit on top of it, and it was like, okay, this is maybe the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life.
That was a rough time.
And so it was a super rough time. And so then we ended up becoming Rebel Fitness, and here we are 2 years later, rocking and rolling. And so that's kind of the story that we wanted to go into, just a little bit of a timeline hop with you guys, just to give you the background on who we are and what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So my biggest fear in life, you guys, is, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but my biggest fear in life is that somebody puts a microphone in front of me and I'm like 90% of these other podcast people who it's like, why did you give them a mic? They should not have a mic. And so my hope is that I am not going to do that.
Podcasts suck, but my podcast won't suck.
There's your tagline. So my hope is that we're going to actually provide some value. We're going to tell a lot of truth in this podcast. That's why we called it Real Talk. The alliteration is great, but it is real. If you know us, if you are a part of our gym or a part of our community, you know that we don't hold back on telling the truth about things and educating people on the health and fitness world specifically, sometimes some other life stuff, but there's a lot of untruth out there, you guys. There's a lot of things that people are selling that they shouldn't be and telling people that they shouldn't be. And that's why the health and fitness industry, weight loss specifically, is up to, I think it is now, a $90 billion a year business. And it's a business for a reason. Nobody wants to actually solve any problems. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business. And so our gym is based on the idea that we are going to educate, we're going to empower, we're going to uplift people, but we're also going to tell the truth. And it's not always the sexiest thing in the world. We used to sell a lot of...
We used to
lose
sell
20 pounds.
Yeah, 20 pounds in 6 weeks, or, biggest loser type of challenges, anything like that. Win a prize for having the biggest weight loss, but that's not the goal anymore. Yep. Pro-metabolic, right?
Yes.
That's everything.
Amen. So, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty on that. So, with all of that said, I'm going to take y'all in a little time machine backwards, and we'll go to 2018 since we're talking about challenge groups. So, we're in this franchise. We do nothing but boxing. At this point, Shamar is not quite on the scene yet. I take over this gym. I've been an athlete my entire life. I've been into fitness my entire life. And so going into this was kind of an accident. My background is actually in mental health, which is still a very huge part of my life. I worked at the hospital on the inpatient unit for a really long time. I did private mental health for a really long time. I did everything from teaching groups to teaching parenting courses to administrative to clinical. Did it all and loved it. But it's very much a burnout field, and mental health is getting worse. And so in 2018, 2017, I decided to take a break, be a stay-at-home mom for a little bit, and I realized very quickly that is not my jam. I love my children with the fierceness of the sun, but being a stay-at-home mom is not my jam. And so I was kind of trying to figure out what to do, where to go. This gym became an option to jump into, and I did it. I'd been kickboxing for years. It was one of my favorite, pastimes. It was something that I used after I had my second baby to help get me back, like just in life. I really struggled after her to get back to feeling good about anything. And kickboxing and boxing was that thing for me that kind of brought me back to life. So I've been doing it for a long time. So I jumped in and I thought, I've helped, run mental health businesses in the past. Like, how hard could this be? It's a gym. What an absolute joke.
Little did she know. Little did she know.
That was the setup of the lifetime, okay? So jumped in, started running this gym. It was rough from the get-go. But the biggest thing was, in this gym, we were taught to just make people hate themselves enough to want to change. And that wasn't obvious at the beginning, right? Because I come from a background of health and wellness, being that I've just always cared about it. I was an athlete my whole life. I went to ECU. I played volleyball at ECU. And I was always concerned about being lean, being healthy, eating the right things, working out, doing things like that. And I always wrapped all of that in like the bow of health, right? I always called it health. Little did I know that I was going to have a huge wake-up call about that later. But in 2018, I was doing the same thing, and I was being encouraged to do the same thing. Well, then we started these 6-week challenges, and at the beginning, they were amazing. I mean, we were bringing in leads like crazy, and everybody wanted to do this, and we could promise, that we would help you lose 6 or 20 pounds in 6 weeks easy. I mean, I could do that easy with my eyes closed and my hands tied behind my back now. And we really killed that. We had a ton of people come in and do that. But after a handful of months of that, I mean, this was probably like a year, I really started like laying awake at night and being like, I don't know about this. It was like something was clicking in me that was like, is this actually health? Like, I walk into the gym and I've got women in there who are boxing in trash bags to try to lose the last couple ounces, like to hit this challenge
of water weight, mind you, right? Because we're sweating it out at this point. You're not burning fat the same way after you've been at it for 5 weeks.
Yeah,
you don't have much left to burn.
Yes, and then people coming in and saying to me on the way into the gym, I feel great. This is amazing. I've never worked out so consistently in my life. And then they get on the scale, and the scale didn't do what they thought it should do, and everything's ruined. Life is ruined. And I was like, whoa. Like, you literally just said you're feeling better than you've ever felt. Why does this matter? But it was this weight situation that we couldn't get away from. So then COVID hit, okay? And this is when Shamar enters the chat, thank goodness.
So you're about, early 2020 or like mid-2020.
It was like right before COVID. Yeah. And so that was crazy. But the really crazy thing is, it was a very scary time, for the gym specifically. I just didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how to continue. We didn't know. I mean, we shifted, we pivoted, we kept things going. But like my mindset during that time was, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep doing this. We can't run things like we used to. We were at 53 bag stand. We had 53 people in classes in there during COVID.
A lot of the time, people doubled up on bags. Yes. So it wasn't even like, it might have been a fire hazard at certain points.
100%.
So getting that many people in while there's a social distancing rule, there was no chance.
It was crazy. And so we were surviving on a wing and a prayer. And also, I think during COVID, everybody's like, we changed on like a DNA level as human beings. I think that was a trauma experience for all of us collectively. Whether it was like big trauma or like a bunch of like little mini traumas, I think a lot of people at least experienced during that, whether they realized it or not. And then the idea of trying to like be healthy and stay fit during that, I think was a lot for people. And
I think people just had time to really sit with their health, right? Like before, when it's so go, 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 it's so busy, you stop at the gym for an hour, that's your fitness of the day, and you just have to keep it moving after that. But you stopped at the gym, right? But with COVID, you sit at home the majority of your day. Maybe you get that 2-hour workout in still, but what are you doing for the rest of the day, the rest of the week? What does your actual health really look like? I think people had to face that during quarantine.
Yeah, totally. And it literally changed people. Like, it changed mindsets. It changed, like, we couldn't go forward even with the 6-week challenges anymore. Even the 6-week challenges, people were like, I can't. Like, I just can't even commit to this. So it was actually a blessing in disguise. COVID was, in a lot of ways, for me and the business. I didn't see it then, but looking back, it definitely was. So during this time, I'm actually having a lot of health issues. And my dad had been diagnosed with a really aggressive early onset form of dementia that was, he had 5 years. They were giving him COVID, this franchise that I couldn't figure out like how to like stack my purpose with it. It just wasn't making sense, and everything was wild. And so anyway, I definitely went into COVID, like going through COVID kind of like in zombie mode. Like, I'm not really sure what to do there for a while. We would pivot and then I'd be like shut down mode. I'm not even sure what to do anymore. Then the idea of Rebel came into my head, and it literally, I'm laying in bed one night going, okay, either I'm going to use COVID as an excuse to shut this gym down because I don't want to do this anymore. And I could, right? Everybody else is doing it. Like, I can't do it. I can't make it. I'm in every gym, owner Facebook group from here to whatever, because we're all going, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you surviving this? And a lot of them are going, I'm just done. This is what I don't want to try to fight this. So I'm laying there going, I'm either going to shut this down, I'm going to blame it on COVID, or I'm going to do this, but I'm going to totally flip the script, and we're going to do it my way, the way I need to do it. Simultaneously, I'm dealing with all these health problems, and I'm realizing really quickly that my adrenals are crashing, my metabolism is crashing, my metabolics, everything's crashing. And I am feeling it from, like, my cortisol is through the roof, my inflammation, I'm gaining weight, I can't run or box or anything like I used to. Everything hurts. I've got constant headaches, my brain fog, and I just kept chalking it up to COVID. This is hard. My dad is sick. Like, this is really hard. But it was deeper than that. And what I realized in doing a bunch of courses and doing a bunch of stuff while we were closed down was that for so many years, I had been calling what I was doing health, when it was really, I just kept restricting and dieting and starving myself.
Manipulating the scale,
and
right?
Killing
Seeing
myself.
the number you wanted to see without really taking into consideration 100%. How you truly felt.
100%.
You took into consideration how you felt about the number,
yes,
but not how you felt within your own body.
That part. So I, like many other people, and again, this is where, eventually we'll push some buttons for people, but there is a difference between like being healthy and just getting a high off watching weight go down. And that's what I had done for years. I 100% should have been diagnosed with eating disorders. And that's anything from, and I've disordered eating also, but you're talking hardcore orthorexia, hardcore exercise anxiety, anorexia. And I mean, I lived during college on the treadmill, lived on it. We had a coach who we all kind of had disordered eating. As a volleyball player, you're expected to be lean. You're wearing biker shorts, you're wearing the tank top. So I came in the season right after, thank God. They were doing like the swimsuit bottoms. That would have been horrifying. But there's a lot of eating disorders in that space, and our coach definitely reinforced that stuff. I mean, whether she knew it or not, she encouraged us to skip meals. She encouraged us to, look better in our biker shorts, and not for the sake of the sport, but she wanted it to seem like the sake of the sport. But I have roommates still to this day who are battling eating disorders because of that stuff. And so, but again, I wrapped it up as health. I called it health. I was like, that's healthy. That's me being healthy, because being smaller is healthy. Well, and that's where that connected.
Yeah, for a long time, skinny and healthy were just used interchangeably, right? And that's really only a thing that's starting to change now with, like, the recent Olympics, you saw a really big deal about all the different women that were in the Olympics. And they were like, this is a, Olympian body. This is an Olympian body. And the swimmers don't look like the archers, don't look like the equestrians, don't look like the basketball players, right? So it's not about being skinny. They all weighed a different amount. They all had a different body composition, but they're all the top of their sport. They're the best in the world at what they do. And they're not all skinny, right? So skinny and healthy are not the same. Sorry 100%. If that ruffles your feathers. Amen. You might be skinny and unhealthy. You might have more body fat than you want and be in a very healthy spot in your life.
Yep, 100%. And that's where I was. Like, again, you could put up, myself now to myself back then, and this me is 1,000 times healthier. And it's wild. It's wild because I never would have gotten that then. It would have been like, oh no, like she looks different. She's bigger. She can't run as fast or as long or whatever the situation is. So this version of me, 100%, I would have said, there's no way. Now I understand the difference. And again, thank God, during that time, I was confused. I was trying to figure out what's going on. And then as my eyes started opening to diet culture, because this is really when I started understanding that term. I really hadn't heard it. I really didn't understand because, again, I was very deep. I was deep in the Beachbody stuff. I was deep in all of that stuff. And it was all, again, labeled as health. And it's crazy now that I look back on it. It's embarrassing. I'm looking at the camera saying this. It is like embarrassing to look back at that now and know what I thought, how I thought. It was just crazy. And so being able to break out of that has been the biggest blessing to me. But this is where it caused a lot of angst in me because I was like, but this is health, but this is not health. Where does my gym go in this? Like, how in God's name do you run a gym and not tote weight loss as your number one thing? Do a Google search. I dare you to do a Google search of gyms in your area and see how many gyms that's not the first thing that they put on there, because that's SEO. That's what's searchable. That's what every single person is looking for. And so when I started getting this kind of wild idea about changing and not wanting to do this anymore, like not wanting to sell weight loss, not wanting to sell skinny, not wanting to sell this idea of fake health, it's like, how do you go forward in that? Like, how do you do that? And so we did it by literally just ripping the Band-Aid off. And we had a day in the gym. We ran a bunch of ads. We filmed a bunch of ads. We smashed every scale. Yeah,
we decided weight was no longer the goal. We took all the scales, threw them, hammered them, tossed them outside in the parking lot. We just did not need a scale anymore. We still have a body scanner, of course. You still see your progress, but there's not one normal scale in the gym.
Yep. And so we did that one day, and then we ran those ads, and I was so stoked. I was so excited. I was like, yeah, this is us. This is the new Rebel. And at this point, too, we're also going through the debrand. So it's legal. It's ugly. Because I had tried with our previous franchise, I tried really hard to, like, talk to them. Like, this is what we want to do. Like, you guys got to understand that boxing at the rate, like fitness boxing, which is what we were doing, and running people into the ground for 60 minutes to 90 minutes is not health. And they just would not budge. They were like, no, stick to the game plan, we don't want to hear it. I was like, well, we want to do some private training. We want to actually, they would send us ads to run about boosting your metabolism. And I was like, that's not going to boost somebody's metabolism. We're actually killing it. If we're not going to lift weights, if we're not going to progressively overload, if we're not going to help them at all with nutrition, we're destroying their metabolism. Nope, not going to hear it. Stick to the playbook. So that's when I knew we had to leave. So we went through this legal stuff, got out from under them, but that was a process. During this whole time is when we are redoing everything. And I'm like, okay, we're going to smash the scales. We're going to run these ads. We ran those ads, and it was crickets. It was effing crickets. And I remember being like, okay, I'm way more hype about this than anybody else is. What are we going to do? And that was the start to like, okay, this is what we are doing. This is who we are. We developed the pillars. We like nailed everything down. I'm such a hand talker and I keep hitting this thing. We nailed everything down and we were like, this is it. We have to like, there's no going back. There's no going back. The first ad that we did and put it out there, and then I shared it on my page, I got a DM from another local gym owner. And I still have this DM to this day because it motivates me. And he said something to the effect of, LOL, no weight loss. I hope you know that's business suicide.
Appreciate you for the motivation, brother.
I was like, okay, bet,
We'll
as the
see.
kids say, bet. So anyway, that has been, that's something that's still dry. Again, I said it and now I'm like instantly sweating. Like it fires me up in the best possible way. And I think that's what I needed. I needed a little bit of that competitiveness and somebody to kind of help. So who knows if you're a troll online and in other people's hopes and dreams and you're trolling, you actually might be motivating them in some ways. So I guess maybe they are helpful. The parasite community is helpful in some ways.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so we pushed through. It's been a lot. It's been really hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. It's been probably one of the hardest things, I've ever done was just figuring out who we are. The amount of meetings that we've had and been like, who are we in this? Like, what do we do in this? How do we go forward in this? Like, should we do that? And never talking about bringing weight loss back. But at one point we even got together before we created our momentum program, which is our huge thing now. And we said, okay, how do we in some way bring back 6-week challenges? Not because of like what we want, like how they used to be.
They were just marketable.
They create an environment, they create an excitement, but we had to redo that entire thing. And then it turned out it was like, no, we're not going to do this because we can't run 6-week challenges in any way, shape, or form through our new pillars. It's not possible. And we were not willing to go against that. Like it's an integrity thing for us at this point. We are not going to go back.
Yeah, we refuse to destroy metabolism for a profit.
Yeah. And lie to people at the end of the day. It's like, I can look back I cannot think of one person, honestly. There might be a couple who've done okay at keeping, but all those people that we did 6-week challenges with and all those people who hit those goals and some, and I don't think any of them were able to maintain it. And that's just that's on metabolics, guys. So you cannot maintain that amount of weight loss in that amount of time because at the end of the day, you've manipulated the scale. Right. That's what you've done. And so to charge people, money to teach them how to be disordered is wild.
Right. The amount of conversations we've had about like that topic specifically, that hey, I'm just not willing to lie to people or to hurt people or to injure people or to ruin their metabolism just because it makes us more money, right? Mm-hmm. Like you'll see ads all the time. Nothing against, big business owners, but to most of those guys, you're a number, right? Like they don't care. Our members to us are real people. Like shout out to our members that stuck with us through it because that's why we are the way that we are, right? The members that we had prior that know, liked, and trusted us before the transition are, our biggest ambassadors. The people that went out and people saw them and they're like, you seem happy and healthy. What are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, I go to Rebel Fitness where they actually help me with my body recomposition, with my metabolism. I'm not actually training to be skinny. I'm in this new program where I'm trying to be healthy, right? So it's not the ads initially that brought the people in. It's our members that stayed
100%.
And they proliferated throughout the entire community, right? They posted, they put our name out there, they told their friends, right? Yep. So it's really the group that we had that is, we got to thank them a lot.
Amen. Amen to that.
Yeah, the ads that at the beginning,
that
was not it.
No. Well, and you think about, this is something I talk a lot about too when I talk to schools or younger folks, or I'm having like more of like a business conversation with somebody, is another big thing for me, because one of the main questions I get is like, you had like the motivation to change out of the weight loss space had to have been huge to do it. And that is 100% true. COVID was definitely a catalyst for that, which I'm so thankful for at the end of the day, which is crazy to say. But the other thing, again, that I'm laying awake at night thinking, just like on a basic math level, you think about these gyms and the amount of members that they have to pay the bills, okay? So we're a 45 on a good day, a 4,500 square foot space. And it's not laid out the best because it was supposed to be just boxing. Mm-hmm. So for what we're doing now, it's a tough space. We make it work, like we've made it amazing.
Absolutely.
But on a good day, we're a 4,500 square foot space. Back when we were with the franchise, we were just boxing, we had to have like 500 members to pay the bills.
Yeah, to keep the doors open.
And to put a little in the bank for things that we needed down the road. You do not have to be a mathematician. This isn't even girl math to figure out I cannot house 500 people in that building.
Not even in a day. Like if we had...
In a day, not even
that'd
close.
That'd be 10 fully booked classes of 50 people.
We would have to run it back to back to back to back to back all day long and fit half of those people in there. Yeah. So that means that my business model is to sign up as many people. And again, our goal was, I remember, like 40 people a month. Yep. To sign up that many people.
And then pray they don't show up.
And pray they don't show up for themselves.
Pray they never walk through the door. Yeah. Pray that we can draft you month to month to month and you don't even use the treadmill because we don't want you in the building.
No.
We just want your money.
And what a business model. Like, can you even imagine? And again, this is where the integrity thing was so important for me. I'm laying there going, I hate that.
Right. I've drafted this person 4 months in a row and haven't seen them. Right. Is that good for the business? Yeah, well, but that feels like shit.
Exactly.
Right?
And then you have that conversation with, the people who are leading you in this. And it's like, oh, well, don't call them. Just because then if you call them, they're gonna cancel. And it's like, I can't run it like this. Like, I can't do this. And that again was another big push to me that was like, how can we do this better? And so with Rebel, again, this is going off what you just said, we now go deeper with fewer clients instead of going wider. So instead of trying to like bring in every warm body off the street, because we don't do that either. We do a consult for every single person that comes in the door. And people are always shocked when I say this. I have 100% turned people away.
We reserve the right to say we don't think you'd be a good fit at our gym, right? If you're going to come in and cause issues or speak against what we do or argue back and forth with trainers, then we'd rather you just go somewhere else.
Bring the drama. Yeah. I don't do drama.
Yeah. The vibe in our space is very important. We have members talk to us about that all the time. Like, I'd pay, an extra surplus just to keep the vibe that y'all have here, just to 100%. Not have the riffraff and the randoms.
100%. So that was a huge turning point for us too. It was like, it was kind of those two things coupled together of like, we actually care about people's health, their real, true health. And that's why I tell people we sell true health at Rebel. You are not going to come in and get duped in any way, shape, or form. And again, that's not always sexy, but it's the way it is. And so if you want truth, you want education, you want what's actually happening, you want the science, we love some science in our gym, then we're for you. If you want a little more of like the warped, crazy disorder, then, there's plenty of other spaces for you that you can get that. But that, like the actual true health coupled with the integrity of our business was so unbelievably important to me. It was like, that was the thing too. It was like, if I have to kill myself to bring in 500 members into this gym, I barely know any of them. I'm sweating every single day because then I got 30 canceling because what am I even doing? Then I got to bring 40 in just to keep my head above water. The quality of life on that is awful. And I'm also not actually making an impact on anybody's life. And then if I'm a gym owner doing that and I'm selling health, what am I actually doing? What am I actually doing? And I think that's the question, as people in health that you've got to constantly ask yourself. And then you also have to hold yourself accountable to it. So it's like, that's what we do day in and day out, right? Is, hey, what is it that you want to accomplish? Well, I want to get healthier. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. I want to be able to fall off the jet ski this summer and get back on it myself. I want to be able to get down and pick something up. I want to be able to travel and lift my suitcase above my head, whatever the situation is.
And that's part of the consult process, right?
Yes.
Like we make sure that people break down real, fundamental, realistic goals, right? Losing 30 pounds before that wedding next month, you probably want a different gym, right?
100%.
Getting the body back that you had when you were 15, you probably want a different gym, right? Learning how to love the body you're in and improve it because you love it, come to Rebel Fitness, right? Improving your body so you can go on the hikes, so you can chase your kids, so you can still go fishing, still get yourself off the toilet. come to Rebel Fitness because we're training you for life, not for skinny, right?
Yep. Amen. So that's like the timeline, right? So that's, and then here we are. And again, there's a lot more angst and craziness in between there that we'll get into, I'm sure, in other podcasts, because we got a lot of fun stories to tell and a lot of that kind of stuff. But fast forward to where we are now, we have figured out who we are. We have figured out what we stand. I mean, we knew what we stood for, but like really standing on business.
We had to figure out how to implement what we stood for in a realistic way.
Yes. And I think we've done that. And so now we're in a space of, and I think really that's why the podcast has come to fruition now, because now it's like we're so unbelievably sure of who we are, which it's like you're sure, but you're not. It's that freaking imposter syndrome.
I think we were also sure, but we were grinding to make other people sure and to build a team of sure and like-minded people around us, right? Because we can't do a podcast and run the gym and train 50 clients and teach all the classes, right? So we had to ensure other people that this thing was real, add them to the team, and now that we have a team behind us,
totally.
Like the sky is the limit, right?
And that's 100%. And that too is another thing that, a lot of people don't realize is us hiring new people and us having to totally undo what they know to be true about health and fitness. And
shout out to our interns that y'all will meet here soon, but they're coming out of, college and like, wow.
Yes.
I didn't know fitness was like this.
Yes.
Like one of our interns thought he wanted to be, a football coach training big D1 guys all the time. And can he still do that in the future? Yeah, but right now he's having the time of his life helping a man get his gait back and be able to walk around and live the life he wants to live. So there's fitness on all different levels, right? And that's something that he's seen now. And he's like, man, like, thank you so much for telling me and showing me what health really can be. Like, it's not being the swollest guy in the gym. It's just living the life that you want to live.
Really quickly before we run out of time, I want to give you the mic because I want you to, where you came on, where you joined the chat and what your history is with health and fitness and why it's important to you and what it means to you and what brought you to where you are now. I want you to take the mic for a minute. Yeah.
So my name's Shamar. I'm sure y'all have picked that up so far. But so I'm the head trainer, director of private training over at Rebel Fitness. And to me, fitness is really kind of everything, right? Not in a way that it's obsessive, but in a way that it gives me the chance to do all the things that I want to do. So I'm actually a 2-time cancer survivor. When I was 13 and 15 were my 2 diagnoses. I have a full knee and femur replacement as well as no quadricep on the left side of my left leg. And for a long time, I just was wheelchair bound and bed bound, right? So for 2 years, I couldn't walk, couldn't get up, couldn't go to the bathroom by myself, had to have somebody come get me out of the bed, put me in a wheelchair, roll me, take me somewhere, and bring me back. Grateful that I had the, accessibility to that, grateful that I'm healthy and doing what I can, but that's where my mind always goes to, right? Like, I never want to be in a wheelchair, unable to move again. I never want to have somebody come get me out of my bed or off the couch. And I never want anybody else to feel like that because I know exactly how that feels. So for me, fitness is just the tool that can give you the access to whatever life that you want. You want to learn to surf, you want to go on a hike, you want to chase your kids around, you want to still play basketball even though your surgeons and doctor team said that it might not be feasible. Work your ass off, right? I did all my physical therapy and then some. And I'm doing better than anybody ever thought I would do. So for me, fitness is just freedom, right? I can walk. I can't run like I used to, but I can move in a quick way if I need to get somewhere. I can still go to the gym. I can lift heavy weights. I go on hikes. I go fishing. I chase my friends around, play with kids. Anything that I want to do, I am able to do. And, it was smart of them at the time, but my surgical team said I should pick up golf, right? What type of kid with a knee replacement at 13 is like, oh, let me just give up all movement. I'll just play golf. I'll just
play
bowl,
small,
right? So I was safe. My first question when I got my diagnosis was, how long is this going to take? When can I be back on the baseball field? When can I play basketball again? And they were just like, may not happen. We'll just have to see. And I was like, that wasn't my question, right? It was when, not if. So that's always my mindset, is that if you have a progress mindset and you're not going to be a victim, fitness can take you basically anywhere. I can't regrow a quadricep, but I have many a friend with 2 good legs that can't do what I do. So, and that's on fitness.
Preach.
Yeah. So.
And seen.
Right. And that's my story, right? My life I thought was going to be taken away from me. Baseball, basketball, all these things were everything to me. My whole first 13 years of life were travel ball, all-star teams, this and that. All my coaches, oh man, keep it up. You're going to play college ball. All my friends I was on teams with played college ball, right? I thought they were just talking smack. I thought they were just like, oh, you'll be good. 10 out of 12 guys on my all-star team when I was young all played college sports, whether it was baseball, basketball, or football. That wasn't, in the cards for me, but now I can be a great trainer, a great coach, a great friend, a great supporter. And a lot of those guys come back to me now, right? They went and had a college football career. They were told they need to be big, huge, strong, heavy, right? They come out of that, their body aches, their joints hurt, they're not healthy. Yep. So they're coming to me like, hey man, I need your help to get back in shape and to be healthy, right? They were great at what they were doing, but that might have not been health, right? Like you were saying, when you were the best volleyball player you've ever been, you weren't the healthiest person you've ever been.
100%.
So just having the realization that it's really come full circle, right? Because for a long time, they had to help me. I was still on the team, but just kind of a support system, right? I had a good mindset, but they were bringing me along. And now that I've worked so hard, I get the chance to help these guys, get back in shape, lose weight, fall back in love with fitness in the right way, the way that I got the opportunity to do so. So instead of just seeing it as your ability to do something, that's your fitness, I look at it as your ability to become able to do things.
I love that so much.
Yeah. That's me. That's Shamar.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, giving people an idea of who we are and backgrounds and all of that. And again, other staff. So this podcast is going to be very much the Rebel Fitness Gym podcast. And so having lots of other folks join us on here, whether it's members with a crazy testimony, it's other staff, it's these interns that we are discussing.
Yeah, so you'll always see at least one of us, but you can expect to meet all of our staff and a ton of our members as well. But
absolutely,
you'll be seeing one of us, if not both of us, most of the time.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be, that is our goal, again, and our purpose for this podcast, you guys, is to, we're going to earn time in front of these mics. I promise. All right. We're not just going to be wasting time and talking stuff that people necessarily want to hear. We are going to talk truth about health and fitness. We're going to talk about things that we've seen and things that we've experienced in the business, and that's good, bad, and ugly. Answer some questions for sure that we get from our members a lot of the time. Offend some people for sure, because again, we are very counterculture is what I'll tell you guys.
We're just real, right? Culture isn't real all the time. So if culture's being fake, come to Real Talk with Rebel.
Amen.
So that's going to be just about it for this first episode. We really appreciate y'all letting us share our stories so far, but we really cannot wait to share the rest of our story and where we're going. So make sure you tune in again to Real Talk with Rebel.
Bye.
Later.